All right, listeners, get ready for another deep dive, and this one is going to be a wild ride. We're talking Bitcoin, Bitcoin options, and a whole lot of money on the line.
Yeah, we're talking billions, actually.
Billions with a B. Okay, so buckle up, everyone, because things are about to get really interesting. We're breaking down what could be one of the biggest events in the crypto world this year.
The second largest expiry of Bitcoin options we've seen in all of 2024.
Okay, so before we get lost in the weeds here, can you give us a quick, Bitcoin Options 101? What are we even talking about here?
Sure. In the simplest terms, a Bitcoin option is basically like making a bet on whether the price of Bitcoin is going to go up or down by a certain date.
Like a gamble, but with Bitcoin.
You could say that. But instead of buying Bitcoin directly, you're buying a contract that gives you the right to buy or sell it at a certain price. We call that the strike price.
Okay, so you're not actually buying the Bitcoin itself, you're buying the option to buy it.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And that option has to be used before a certain date or it expires.
Got it. So, if I think Bitcoin is going to skyrocket, what then?
Then you'd buy what's called a call option. It gives you the right to buy Bitcoin at that predetermined strike price, even if the market price goes way up.
So if Bitcoin goes to the moon, I'm sitting pretty.
You got it. But on the flip side, if you think Bitcoin is going to tank,
Uh-oh, gonna crash and burn.
exactly, then you'd buy a put option. That gives you the right to sell it at the strike price, even if the actual price plummets.
So no matter what happens to Bitcoin, with options, you're covered.
Well, not quite. You still need to be right about the direction of the price move to make a profit.
Ah, so there's still that element of risk. Makes sense. But we're talking about serious money here, right? Like billions of dollars worth of these options are set to expire soon, right?
You're right. And that's what makes this so significant. We're talking about $8.1 billion riding on this expiry.
8.1 billion. Okay. So what happens when all that money is on the line and these options start to expire? I mean, what does that even mean for Bitcoin? Can it really move the market that much?
It absolutely can. Think of it like this. You've got all these bets riding on whether Bitcoin will go up or down.
Right, those calls and puts we were talking about.
Exactly. And as we get closer to the expiry date, the pressure builds.
Yeah.
If those bets go sour, well, let's just say it can create a lot of volatility in the market.
Volatility. So we're talking about Bitcoin potentially taking a wild ride.
We could see huge swings in either direction. I mean, we're talking about it potentially pushing Bitcoin past $70,000 or sending it into a tailspin.
Okay, so everyone listening, I hope you're strapped in because this is starting to sound like one heck of a roller coaster ride. Now, I know whenever we talk about markets going up or down, we hear about bulls and bears. Can you remind us what those are again?
Right. So bulls are basically the optimists of the bunch.
They think Bitcoin is going up.
Exactly. They're betting on Bitcoin's price to rise. The bears, on the other hand, are, well,
A little more pessimistic.
you could say that. They believe the price is headed down. And right now, according to the article we're looking at,
It seems like the bulls might have the upper hand.
well, the data suggests that more people are getting on Bitcoin going up. There are more call options than put options right now.
So does that mean it's a sure win for the bulls?
Not necessarily. And this is where it gets really interesting.
This is where things get really interesting. What's going on in China that could have such a big impact on Bitcoin?
Well, the article highlights how China has been injecting money into its own economy and providing support for its stock market.
Yeah, and that makes investors more likely to.
Take risks. When investors feel like safer bets are doing well, they're often more willing to put money into assets that are considered riskier. And let's face it, Bitcoin is still seen as a bit of a wild card in the financial world.
Okay, so China's moves are basically emboldening investors to maybe take a chance on Bitcoin.
Precisely. It's like a chain reaction. China's actions boost confidence in their own markets, which then spills over into a higher risk appetite among investors globally. And that newfound boldness could translate into more money flowing into crypto, potentially giving Bitcoin an extra push upward.
So that's another point for the bulls then.
Potentially, but remember, nothing in the financial world is ever a sure thing. There are always other factors at play.
Like that magic number the article keeps mentioning, $60,000.
Yeah.
Seems like that price point is absolutely crucial for Bitcoin right now.
It is. The article really hones in on $60,000 as a critical level. Think of it as a psychological line in the sand. If Bitcoin can hold steady above that mark, especially as we get closer to the options expiry, it's like sending a signal to the market Bitcoin is strong and the bulls are in the driver's seat.
But if it dips below,
That's where things could get dicey for the bulls. Falling below $60,000 might embolden the bears. potentially triggering a cascade of sell-offs as people rush to cut their losses.
So what you're saying is this $60,000 level isn't just some random number, it's a psychological battleground.
Exactly. And the outcome of this battle, whether the bulls manage to hold that line or the bears break through, will likely have a significant impact on where Bitcoin goes next.
Okay, so we've got this financial showdown brewing with billions of dollars on the line, a critical price point everyone's watching. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What does all this mean for our listener who might be hearing all this and thinking, okay, interesting, but I'm not a Bitcoin trader. How does this affect me?
That's a great question. You see, even if you're not directly trading Bitcoin or dabbling in options, understanding these dynamics gives you valuable insight into the forces shaping the cryptocurrency market and the broader financial landscape as a whole.
So it's not just about the price of Bitcoin going up or down. It's about understanding the bigger picture.
Exactly. Take the concept of time decay in options trading, for instance. The closer an option gets to its expiry date, the more its value can erode like ice melting away. This adds another layer of complexity and urgency for traders. They have to consider not just whether Bitcoin will move in the right direction, but also whether it will happen fast enough for them to profit before time runs out.
Like a ticking time bomb. And here I was thinking options trading was just about picking the right direction.
It's certainly a major factor, but that ticking clock adds a whole other dimension of excitement and risk.
So even if we're not all glued to the Bitcoin charts every second, what are some key takeaways our listeners can glean from all this?
First and foremost, it highlights just how interconnected the financial world really is. We've got China's economic policies potentially influencing Bitcoin's price options traders, making bets based on their outlook, and a whole lot of anticipation building around this expiry date.
It's like a giant game of financial chess with everyone trying to anticipate the next move.
Exactly. And that's why events like this Bitcoin options expiry are so fascinating. They provide a glimpse into market psychology, the balance of power between bulls and bears, and the factors that can sway investor sentiment.
So even if our listener isn't planning to trade Bitcoin options anytime soon, this deep dive has given them a valuable peek behind the curtain of the financial world.
Absolutely. Because whether we realize it or not, these market movements, these swings in sentiment, they can have ripple effects that extend far beyond just the price of Bitcoin. It's all part of a larger financial ecosystem.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with?
I'd say this: knowledge is power. The more you understand about how markets work, the forces driving them, and the potential risks and rewards involved, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the financial landscape, whether you're an active trader or simply someone who wants to make informed decisions about your own financial future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And hey, that's what we're here for. We'll keep bringing you those insightful deep dives to help you stay ahead of the curve, one fascinating topic at a time. Until next time.